Hey, what's up, guys? Ajay Popoff of the band Lit is here today. The band has a new album out June 17th, and it's lit, literally. The songs that I've heard are amazing. If you're a fan of classic Lit, you're going to love this stuff. Kicked Off a Plane is a sing along party anthem. I love it. AJ is going to tell me the whole story behind that song. Plus, we discuss how the band persevered for so long before they broke through. We're going to talk about cancel culture and censorship, country influences, and so much more. So here we go. The mic helps. Cool. For the sound. Actually, when I had your brother on, he was in I think he was in the laundry room or something.
Dude,
it was super echoey.
Yeah, he's got the worst. He needs to invest in a microphone. Yeah, it's just like an echo chamber.
yeah, no, it's he had some great stories though, so it worked out. Yeah, so new album, Tastes Like Gold, coming out June 17th.
Yeah, man, about time.
Yeah, so tell me about the co-writers on there. You have Carlo. How do I say his last name? I don't want to mess this up.
We're still trying to figure out how to say his last name. Kolasakis, I believe it is. Okay. Kolasakis, I think. Yeah.
And Youth Here?
And Youth Here, yeah. That's okay. He's our buddy Eric, and he goes by Youth Here because he's actually an artist that's putting out music as well. So yeah, talented dudes. Yeah,
the song, Kicked Off a Plane. I heard it and I was like, when you're listening to bands that you love, and then their new music, sometimes it's not always the greatest. This song is so great. If you like Lit, it's so catchy. This is a song that I'm already singing along in the shower in the car, and I can't wait to sing it in concert when you guys come here. So was that one that was co-written with these guys?
It was, yeah. We I'm trying to think. There's only a couple on the record that we didn't write together. So this was the first time we've actually taken on a record as a production team, which you typically see, I think, more with certain pop groups or I don't know. This actually, when I say that, I take that back. It felt very much like a band, but it's these two guys that aren't in the band. So we kind of we got together, and the first time we wrote, we just hit it off so well. We set up another write, and then that just kind of became this this isn't stopping. This flow is amazing. Let's just keep going. And then we started churning out these guys started helping build these demos. And we're like, dude, these demos sound amazing. The stuff you guys are doing, the production. So why don't do you guys want to produce this with us? And so it just became this all around writing / production team. It's pretty awesome.
No, yeah. I love the new song. Is it getting pretty good reception from the fans? And
yeah, man. We've got so the record comes out June 17th, but the new school, as you know, there's a lot has changed when it comes to how labels put out songs, and not every song is a single, sometimes it's a lead track, and then now we're going to drop this one. Hey, we're going to give the fans another song now. So we have 4 out right now. Kicked Off the Plane, I think was the second one. Mouth Shut is the one we just shot a video for. So that's going to be the single that's being worked pretty much leading up to release. And then we're going to launch the video and go for the radio campaign and everything like that. But thank you, man. The fans we've been playing a few of them live and just been going over insane. We were talking about it as a band. It takes us back to, we've put out records since A Place in the Sun, but it takes us back to that time when we first started touring and playing those songs live for new crowds for the first time. And that reaction and that energy from the crowd, it's been very similar. This is the closest thing we felt to that kind of reaction. And people immediately, come the second chorus and they're singing along, and it's just, it doesn't, like you're saying, sometimes you go to see one of your favorite bands or a band that you're familiar with, and they're playing new music, and you're kind of like, all right, bathroom break, or I'm gonna go get a drink or whatever.
Right.
But it hasn't been that at all. So that's a really good sign, and it's exciting for us, man. It just pumps us up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I want to be there singing along. This is definitely the song you want to sing along to in concert. I always look at music and go, okay, some music is good for relaxing. Some good music is good for working out. This is a song that you want to sing along to, I think.
Killer, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've kind of, I think when we're writing our songs and we're putting together our record, sequence, we are thinking of the live show, and we are already hearing the potential sing-along moments, and just we want it
Nice.
to feel like, like exactly what you're saying. We want people to want to sing along and participate, as most bands do, I think. But
Mhm.
I guess those like party anthems is pretty
Yes,
much what we
that's what it is.
do.
I think you're right. It's like the party, and that's like kind of your guys' background with the Sunset Strip and all that stuff. So maybe
Right.
that's why I gravitate towards that stuff, especially.
Nice. Yeah, that is. I mean, our roots do go back into. It's weird how some of those, all these years of being in a band and going through all these different eras. We're not just people say
Yeah,
'90s, but we really didn't break out till like the very tail end of the '90s. '99 into 2000. But we are a product of the '80s. As well. So we
right.
are those bands from like the Sunset Strip and the '80s, whether it was '80s pop radio or '80s punk rock, '80s rock and roll, alternative, whatever, hair metal, it all like it's back there somewhere, and it surfaces in the weirdest way sometimes in our music.
Yeah, that's it. And were you grunge for a little bit when you were called Stain? Was that, I never heard those songs, but
I mean, yeah, I guess you could. It was a little grungy. It was gritty, pretty raw,
yeah,
and yeah, we were definitely influenced by what was happening around us at the time, especially at that age and that sort of
yeah,
still developing as a band and becoming, coming into our own with our own sound. But we dabbled into like that sort of Alice in Chainsy sort of feel, but with some more angst, some of like the metal might have come into play. But yeah, man, and that was during a time when, we recorded records differently. We recorded on the tape, and there's very little like editing done. So it's just a very real, raw, like I'm talking about Trippin' Light Fantastic record. That was probably, you know, not all the songs we're talking about that were more grungy made that record, but a lot of them are on that, Trippin' record. And it's a little rough for me to listen to, honestly. There's a lot of fans that are like, oh, I love that record. I'm like, really?
Hmm.
I just can't listen to it, man.
What
But
about
there's,
like the Razzle stuff? Will you ever
yeah,
re-release that? It's just like
I don't know.
just like a rarity, like bootleg kind of like album or something. That'd be kind of fun just to go back and listen to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because some of the like the real diehard Lit fans that have got a hold of that record, and they have it, or there's some that are like looking for it. They're out there. It's crazy that we actually threw away like boxes of those CDs, and
Wow.
not realizing that one day there's going to be a nostalgic value to it. Just people want to have it, whether it's cool or not, or just listen to it for the, like you said, just for the fun of it. But yeah, I don't know where those masters live. And like I said, like back then it's on like these big tapes, and I know those tapes are somewhere.
Hmm.
But I think it would be a major process to try and, you know,
Yeah.
load them up onto digital and print out CDs or MP3s. But I mean, someone's got them and someone knows how. It'd
Yeah.
be kind of
No,
cool
for
though. I'm
sure.
all about it. I think the history,
Yeah.
as we get older, we're more and more proud of where we came from and less embarrassed with, our senior picture and our, what we were doing when we were teenagers, or the music or any of that. Now it's just like, man, it's all little parts of where we come from and what made us who we are now. So I think as you get older and you mature a little bit, you're a little less embarrassed about stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah. Like, how did you, because you guys, it took you, was it 10 years before you got signed to an indie label? Then 50, it was like 15 before you had the major and had the radio
Yeah.
play and all that stuff. Like, there had to have been times during that span where you thought of quitting. Did you have to convince each other to stick with it?
Man, crazy thing is that never really came up. There was never,
Really?
never one guy in the band that had a doubt or a plan B. Nobody had, it was just, yeah, we're doing it. And it's crazy now when you think about it, like all those years, it must have just been the perfect formula of parental support and, drive and passion for what we did, and just the chemistry in the band, because it's, it's a rough go. And it's still, to this day, and, the music business is very challenging. It's very, you just never know. So yeah, the process was painful at times, but more when I say painful, we were always having a good time. We loved playing
Hmm.
like live shows, and we love writing songs. But just that maybe at times a little bit of doubt, like, man, are we going to get a record deal? Are we good enough? Or but then I think our following started growing, and I think it's just a matter of when it's time, it's time. When you're ready, you're ready. And I think a lot of bands, like the American Idol kind of machine and the Voice and people like that, sometimes they get lucky and they're catapulted into this mega stardom. But it's also, man, a lot of those people aren't. You could be great, just not prepared for what you're about to get thrown into.
Yeah, you said that it was kind of a blessing that you guys, it took a while because it gave you a chance to evolve and grow. Because if you had made it as Razzle, we might not be talking right now. Like you might have been a one-hit wonder in like 91 and that would have been the end. Like, because
Yeah,
that scene
I know
faded.
it did. And yeah, we do talk about that, man. We're thankful because we did get pretty close. I mean, we were, as a Sunset Strip band, we were in high school and we had this little shtick, this gimmick that probably we should probably thank the band Trickster, because
I love Trickster.
Yeah, they're great guys too. I love those guys. But like at the time, we were like, before we knew who Trickster was, we were like, dude, we're the youngest band out here doing this, and we're playing the same venues as bands like Warrant and these massive, late 80s bands, and we were selling out all those venues, and we had management people sniffing around, we had labels checking us out, and we sold out everywhere we played. So we thought we were like, all right, we're going to be this high school version of what these bands are doing. And then Trickster came out. Boom. We're like, who the hell are these guys, man? And that was their shtick too. We're like, they were this, that Give It To Me Good song came out and they had a massive hit. And we're like, okay, well, there goes our big gimmick. We're not the first, there.
Right.
It really did, save us. So we would have had a hit back then. And, with such a like shticky, gimmicky sort of sound, it was a little bit more novelty, and it would have faded very quickly, I think.
But so like, doesn't it feel like at a point where you that was like maybe your peak? You thought, oh shit, like we peaked, because you guys were struggling. Yeah. Like I'm listening to the podcast, which everyone should check out, My Own Worst Enemy, your little mini series thing that you guys have. And you're telling the story about how you had this pizza scam where you order a pizza and then you say, we didn't order pizza, but we'll give you $2 for it.
Yeah.
Like you had to do these kinds of things. Like you were struggling, but that you just kept going.
Yeah, looking back, I was like, man, we were pieces of crap doing that. But we would do the same thing with fast food restaurants. We would like, we would call from the phone saying, hey, we went through the drive-through and you guys left out, 3 of our burritos or whatever. And it was like, oh, come on back. Well, we'll take care of it. We come back and we get free fast food that way. But we were struggling musicians, even though we lived with our parents, we were still, we were getting to an age where we weren't asking them for money for gas and things like that. We were trying to be self-sufficient. So we were getting by trying to get around in these cars, vintage Cadillacs that took, maybe got 6 to 8 miles per gallon. And so we were just trying to keep gas in those things and get around, because we weren't about to drive anything different, anything less. It was all about our vibe then. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy ride, man, when I start thinking about back then. But yeah, the podcast is cool. We actually had nothing to do with the production of that. We just got interviewed, and that's the coolest thing to us, because we're always so hands-on. And to be able to listen to that podcast and we didn't even know who was all being interviewed, and there's different peers and like these people that we look up to, heroes in the music business, and just hearing them talk about us was amazing. I mean, it was an emotional ride listening to that. But I was a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, my favorite part is when because I love the struggles, but then it's like you hit that point. And I think for me, when I'm listening, it must have been the same for you, happening when you hear My Own Worst Enemy on the radio and you and Kevin tackle each other. I'm just like picturing that in my head. And I'm like, that is so cool. Like, I wish you had that on video.
I know, me too. I have it in here. I could, when you said that, I remember that exact moment, and what the living room looked like at, my parents' house. And it was quite a pinnacle moment. And it's crazy. I think to answer your question a minute ago, did we think that was like our shot, back in the day? And like, and do you think you're peaking? I think the one thing that's maybe kept us going is like, I don't think we ever feel like there's always like, oh, but we still got to do that, and it was like, we still got to get a song on the radio. Now we want our video on MTV. We want a number one song. We want to play in arena. We want to headline arenas. And that's something we still haven't done. So it's like, there's always things, even though we're grateful and blessed to have the opportunities and doing what we're doing still today. It's like, we're still dreamers, we're still striving for more and, looking forward instead of, what haven't we, like what have we accomplished and are we done? No, that doesn't really cross our mind. We're just like, let's keep doing it.
No, I fucking love it. And that's why, again, let's go back to the song Kicked Off a Plane. I was going to ask you, is there a true story behind that? Like I was Googling TMZ lit kicked off of, like, this didn't happen, right? Or is this like for one of the co-writers or somebody else?
It is a true story, and it didn't luckily it wasn't a big enough stink that it was like necessarily newsworthy. We're rational enough guys to like, I mean, it blew out bigger than we probably would have liked it to. But first of all, it had nothing to do with anybody in the band other than Jeremy and I were on the flight, and our guitar tech, Christian, who, three of us are the only ones that live in Nashville. So a lot of times we fly together and the other guys fly back to LA, and we got on a flight, and American Airlines is, I mean, still, they're pulling it together a little bit, but they're had a reputation, especially anytime we were traveling, for like canceling flights, mostly delays. And everyone's dealt with that, especially more recently, but we were getting delayed, and our flight was like, I want to say we're like 5 hours delayed or something. And so we go to the Admirals Club where we can get free drinks. And so we're in there and having a few cocktails, trying to kill time. And oftentimes they would, especially, well, like before the pandemic and no alcohol on the planes and things like that, they're not serving. So, more and more people are going to the bars to get their drinks before they get on their flight to take the edge off and relax. So we're doing that. And then usually when you leave the Admirals Club, they're like, oh, you want to put your drink in a coffee cup and take it to go. And so that's typically what we would do. Well, that day, our guitar tech put his beer in his coffee cup, and we're on the plane, and he's in a different row, and we could see the flight attendant come up to him, asking him, what's in your cup? And instead of, which was kind of random because it's a coffee cup, but for some reason she questioned him, and he was just like, oh, it's my beer. It's the rest of my beer from the Admirals Club. She was like, no, you can't bring alcohol on the plane. He's like, oh, okay, oh, my bad. And gave it to her. And
he didn't drink. He didn't pound it.
No, but so like, he's in the exit row. And so she comes back. She's like, well, you can't sit in the exit row because you've been drinking, which is the strange thing is he's a very happy personality, and he's talking to people next to him. So I think they took that as like he was drunk. He wasn't being obnoxious. But anyway, so he's like, yeah, I'll move. That's fine. So they move into another row, trying to make this long story short a little shorter. Next thing we know, and mind you, we're at the tarmac, we're at the gate, sorry. And it's taken us forever to pull off. And now we had been there for like an hour. And all of a sudden these people start walking on the plane in like regular like suits, they're not in like uniform. And a guy walks up to him and like just kind of goes like this, come with me. And he looks at him. He's like, well, where are we going? Yeah, we got a flight to catch here. And he goes, no, he wouldn't answer him. He's like, come with me. He's like, well, man, are you kicking me off the plane? And there's no communication. So Jeremy and I noticed this. We're like, dude, he's about to get kicked off this plane. And so we go, excuse me, sir, like that guy works for us and we're all together. And is there something going on? Is something wrong? And he wouldn't explain to us either. And we're like, man, you need to tell us what's going on. Cause if you're kicking him off the plane, then we're getting off the plane too. And he just continued on. So then we like kind of lost it on him, and the whole plane's booing at the airlines because they like Christian and they think it's BS too. So we stand up and we start following them out the plane. And as soon as we get off, we're like, we got into it with a guy, and we tell him, we fly American Airlines all the time. We're frequent flyers. We're, whatever, Million Mile Club and all this. And we were in your Admirals Club, and you guys were serving us these drinks. You guys gave us the drinks, and it's your bad, Well, he ends up another, younger, good looking lady comes over, and she goes, guys, we'll figure this out. She takes us back to the Admirals Club. Says, I'm going to get you on another flight. I'm going to upgrade you. So the next flight wasn't for another like 3 or 4 hours. So she puts us back in Admirals Club where they continue to service alcohol. So it was just, it sums up these last couple of years. It's just like, all right, this information is so not making sense right now. And like, you can't even rationalize it for us. So how are we supposed to understand what to do and not to do?
Well, no, that's kind of like your other song, Mouth Shut, which is like, it's a lighthearted way of pointing out all the ridiculous, the cancel culture and all that stuff, but
yeah, man,
you're kind of keeping your mouth shut about it. Is that kind of an example of that for that song as well?
A little bit, but if you hear the last line of the song "Mouth Shut" is "I can't keep my mouth shut." So even though we know, it really you should say I should keep my mouth shut, but a lot of the time you put your foot in your mouth because you just can't hold it back. And I think now more than ever, I'm starting to find myself speaking my mind a little more than I maybe did last year, because I think it's getting to a point where, especially as an artist, we're supposed to be anti-censorship. We're supposed to be able to say what we want, whether it's
Yeah.
in our music or just when we're talking to anybody.
Right.
And it, you know, I feel strongly that, you know, I don't like to talk about politics, and usually, and not in our music either. It just so happens it kind of it's coincidental how they line up with politics. But I'm done having people tell me how I'm supposed to think or what I'm allowed to say and what's unacceptable or not politically correct. So I don't think, you know, from both sides, I see politically incorrectness, and just because they say they are being politically correct doesn't make it right for everybody.
Yeah, it just seems like there's these really loud extremes where I feel like most people are kind of in the middle. There's these extremes that, and it just seems like they're batshit crazy on both sides on the extremes, and those are the loudest voices.
I know, man. I try not to pay attention to those. I really do like to be a reasonable thinker, and nobody wants us to be that. You know, nobody does right now. So I like to, you know, hold that, you know, right. And if anything's, you know, freedom to me is summed up in, it starts in your mind. And if you have the freedom to think what you want, that's, you know, you're winning. You're ahead of everybody else. So you just kind of listen to both sides. And for me, I'm a realist, and I go with what makes more sense.
Yeah. No one's tried to cancel Lit for a song or something you said or anything like that, hopefully?
Man, not that I know of. Other than getting kicked off the plane, we got canceled from that flight.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a funny story, but it doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, it's not like there was, and there's no video of like you yelling at the airline people. So that's good.
Man, I so wish there was, man. I wish I would have caught something on video, because there would have been some moments where it was heated for sure.
Yeah, well, that's ballsy. But then they they admitted they're wrong if they put you in the Admiral's Club. And
kind of. Yeah, I don't know if they really admitted they're wrong, but they just sort of like, you know, airlines don't like to do that. In fact, they're usually like, oh yeah, your flight's canceled, and then you're like, okay, well now what? We're sorry. I don't go talk to, go call somebody.
Do you think it was the stewardess or sorry, the flight attendant or whatever that ratted you out, or was it a passenger? Like, it just seems odd that.
I mean, everybody at that point was seated, seat belted, like ready to go. Yeah. So my guess is just, you know, you get these flight attendants that just have this weird, you know, they think that they've been given a lot of new authority, and I think some of them get a little power trippy, and that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, totally. To see, that's the one thing I hate. Like, I always talk about people who are rich and poor. I don't really need all the fancy hotels or the fancy cars, all that stuff, but like having a private plane, that's the one thing, because I hate flying commercials so much.
Yeah, it's a game changer. We've you know, been lucky enough to have flown private a few times, and it's a game changer. We actually recently, you know, our friend Jamey Johnson, big country star, he flies private all the time, and he's got like a really cool network of planes, and he's got his own plane. And every once in a while, he'll send a plane depending where we're going. Like, it's happened a couple of times where he sent one for us. He's just like a super just generous dude. But there's nothing like leaving a show and the car pulls right up next to the plane, and you don't go through security or anything.
Yeah.
And you're home in like no time. It's the craziest thing. But yeah, if we can only just travel that way all the time, it'd just be cake.
That'd be amazing. Did you meet him living in because you're in Nashville, right? With Jeremy, right?
Yeah, we're in Nashville. Actually, Jeremy became really close with Jamey years ago when he first started coming here, and they, I think, got teamed up in a session, like right to right. And they hit it off. And then, so that was weird. This is many, many years ago. And Jamey used to come to California a lot and visit. This is, you know, you wouldn't even recognize him that, you know, back then, but he was still a massive songwriter, but he was just always just such a great dude and became like part of our family. And so this had to have been like, man, 18 years ago or something like that, somewhere between 15 and 20 years ago. So we've known him for a very long time. Great dude.
Okay. Have you collaborated with him? Because I know you guys had that Popoff Brothers country project.
Yeah. We have. We've written together a couple times. We haven't nothing that we've put out or anything, but some cool stuff. Jeremy's has a couple cuts on his record, and yeah. But there's a lot of great writers out here, and
yeah, I bet
that was one of the biggest things that for me got me into country music. I wasn't really a fan growing up, but being exposed to like the way these guys write songs, and then as I started diving into the songs that the guys we were writing with had written, these massive country hits, I started like diving in. I'm like, man, these are just written so well. And then I just became hooked, and then fell in love with the genre. But yeah, we've learned a lot from these guys as writers.
Yeah. Is the new song Do It Again? Because I feel like that is a little country influence. It almost sounds like a country guitar riff.
I mean, like I was saying before, like with the influences and how they kind of seep into whatever we're writing, I think it was inevitable that we did, we sort of split the Popoff Brothers country stuff with what we wanted to do with the new Lit record, but it was a little bit challenging at first because all we had been writing was more country leaning version of Lit, so that, it was inevitable that I think it was going to seep into some of the stuff. And it's just little, I think it's very subtle, but I think people that had listened to our country leaning stuff, or I think they'll hear it too from time to time throughout the record. Very subtle though.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I want to highlight that song too, because that's also a super catchy song. Now, which ones you said Mouth Shut is the next video?
Yeah. That's and Adrian Young from No Doubt. He played on that song, and he came out for the video. We had a blast making it. It's just a vibe. That's the only way I could describe the video. There's no concept. It's just nice and bright colors. Just us goofing off in the sound stage, and just it's killer. So that video will be released, I think, the day of release, the 17th.
Wait, I forget. There's not a video for Kicked Off a Plane, is there?
No, it's funny though, because it was one of those ones that wasn't considered like an actual single, but so we weren't going to shoot a video for it. And then my wife and I were talking, and she likes messing around with like she does a lot of like social media stuff, and so she got one of those like green screen apps, and her and I just created this like crazy green screen video. I think you could find it on our YouTube, but
okay.
But then we just, like, for the rest of the guys, we just use like almost like paper doll, like just cut them out and put them in different scenarios with me, and like at the airport and at Chicago O'Hare Airport. So it's where it all happened. So it's fun.
Okay.
It's fun to watch that.
Yeah. Now, did you guys do, I heard you talking about doing a show in Arizona in Lake Havasu on a floating stage. I don't know how I missed this. Did that actually show go through? Did it happen?
It did. Yeah, it was, we had a blast. It was a really windy day though. So it was like a boat thing. So like a lot of the killer boats that were supposed to be there couldn't make it. And then like the stage was like, they had to anchor it down. It was challenging, but it was still fun.
Will you be doing that again then? Cause I
hope
want
so, man.
Okay, cool. Or hit Arizona on the tour. I know you have some dates lined up already. Are you adding more shows?
We're going to be actually out quite a bit. And this fall, we're going to be, I think probably about 6 weeks worth of dates. So we'll hit all the good spots.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Lake Havasu is one of my favorite places to vacation. Like some of our best friends have a house there, and one of our buddies, I don't know if he was Speedboat Magazine, Ray Lee. He's like the king of like the boating world. So like we go out there and we have a blast with him, and it's just like one of the best party spots.
Oh, that's all. Yeah, you should try Canyon Lake too. That one's really cool.
I think I have been there. Why am I spacing on for sure? But I think I've been there too. But the Yeah video was filmed in Parker and then some in Havasu too.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I know you got to get going here, but I like to end each episode with a charity. Last time when your brother was on, he was promoting the Humane Society. I don't know if you want to promote that one, or is there another cause that's near and dear to your heart?
Man, I'm a big fan of St. Jude.
Okay. I've promoted them several times, so my audience knows all about them. I'll put that website in the show notes along with your website, and people need to listen to the new music and catch Lit on tour.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man.
All right. Thank you so much, AJ. I'll see you later.
All right, dude. Appreciate that. All right, bye-bye.
What a fun interview. Again, definitely check out the new music by Lit. If you like good music, I wouldn't steer you wrong. If you enjoyed this interview, please check out my interview with his brother, Jamey Popoff. We go into more detail with the history of the band. And if you like that interview, I have even more than that. And you can subscribe to the show or follow me on social media if you want. I'm not going to push it. People are going to do what they want. If you like Lit and you want to hear their music, you're going to figure out how to find it. And it's the same with me. So thank you for listening. Have a spectacular day and shoot for the moon.